Today is Wednesday, 21st, and database and SQL. Talked about relationships, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. We did the practice, which was tie a couple tables together from that classwork. Classwork SQL, we did a little bit of that, and on Monday we have a skills based on SQL. Yeah, we are in the downswing of week number 6, and in this situation we are talking about days 10 and 11. Monday, the students did an exam. Alright, so let's move on. No, I know what it was. Monday was a snow day. We did the exam a couple days earlier. Monday was a snow day. Okay. So, the exams the students need to look at, the results, they've got a key, and we talked briefly about that, and they have their work, and they have my comments. Alright, relationships. Types of relationships that are made between attributes in tables or entities. We can have a one-to-one, we can have one-to-many, and we can have many-to-many. The cardinality of these constraints. There's quite a bit of good information online, so as you're filling out your outline, I'd make note of looking at maybe 2 or 3 sources for this information. Okay, let's example I gave in the medical world. So we have doctors, we have their patients, our clients. So Dr. XYZ, patient 222, and so we doctor here, this patient, and then I added a patient there. Let me add that patient here, so to speak. 333. Okay. So now here's 333. So what kind of relationship is there between the doctor entities and the client? Well, in this direction, one doctor can have many patients. So that is a one-to-many. Now, some students said, well, a patient could have many doctors. So it could be a many-to-many. But if we're talking about a primary doctor, then each client's only going to have one primary doctor. But that primary doctor could have many clients. All right. So, there we go. Now, let's move on. Talk about all of this SQL. I am not going to go through all the details here. But we did talk about in relationships, we talked about mandatory. So in our example, the medical one, mandatory would state then that a patient has to have a doctor. That makes sense? A patient would have to have, so here's a patient A, and here's a doctor. If it was mandatory, then the patient would have to have a doctor. If it was optional, you could have a patient that doesn't have a doctor. Alright? Let's look at some SQL. Manipulate data. So I listed some things to try to help students organize in their thought process on how this might work. So let's use a different color here for what it's worth. We can delete from, we can create a table, we can insert into the table, we can select from the table. That would be more of a query. We can update information and we can alter the table. Data manipulation. Those mostly deal with that. If we were to look at queries, select from, where we use the most, where gives some special indication. So we can select, let me highlight some things right here. So we can select particular attributes or fields from, and the where then is going to give us which records. And we can do some other comparisons with that. Like we can say alike, or we can say in between. We can do and or. We did an example in class. We can order it, and then we can limit the output. And we did an example of both of those in our practice item. Aggregate. Let's take a look here. Aggregate functions, we can round, we can count, we can group by. This one's really good, like the group host, to do a count with a group and so forth. We can sum, max, min, find the average. Okay, so it's the idea here of organizing your thought here of how you might do this. And then let me finish up here. Multiple tables, right? Kind of this building the relationship between tables. And later on we'll talk a little more about the inner join, outer join, and so forth, joining tables. Right now we're doing it really a simple way to do that. In the where statement we're saying where does the primary and foreign keys match up. New command. Show, create, table, and then here's where the name of the table is. Semicolon. This gives you more detailed information on how the table was created. So in doing that we were able to see constraints in the table based on primary and foreign keys. So we did this. Let me highlight a couple things here. So we did the practice 5 in class. Okay. Here's assignment 2 and the solution to assignment 2. Okay, and this had a large number of queries and create some tables and so forth. On Monday we got a little behind because of the snow, so we have not done the rentals yet. We'll look at that probably maybe a little bit on Monday and then on Wednesday. But on Monday we're going to go ahead and take the skills base, so we move that back till Monday. You should be finishing up section 3. Alright, that is it for today.